also welcome you all to the fourth edition of Cineast International Film Festival, CIFFI 2022. World's first 7-day film festival being organized by educational institutions of 3 countries. DME Media School of Delhi Metropolitan Education, Noida, Delhi NCR, India, in association with School of Communications and Creative Arts, Deakin University, Melbourne, Australia, and in collaboration with School of International Communications, University of Nottingham, China. It is a pleasure to announce that this is the 4th year of a collaborative venture of DME Noida and Deakin University, Melbourne. The theme of CIFFI 2022 is Cinema for Togetherness, #Millennial Movies. Mr. Tigmanshu Dhulia, National Award-winning film director from Bollywood, is the Festival Ambassador for CIFFI 2022. We are extremely thankful for his constant support. This year, Mr. Binay Pathak, acclaimed theatre and Bollywood actor of Bheja Fry and Khosla Ka Ghosla, fame is the face of CIFFI 2022. We are proud to mention that this year, CIFFI has received an overwhelming response from across the globe, surpassing its own records from the previous editions. We have 3,365 films from 112 countries in 6 different categories. These include art films, short films, documentaries, fiction films, animations, and musicals. Out of these thousands of entries, our team has shortlisted 365 films that are being screened throughout the 7 days of the festival. Since its inception, CIFFI has been raising the bar of film festivals on a global scale. The first edition was held in April 2019 as a 4-day film festival. The second edition, held in 2020, was themed Cinema and COVID-19 Impact. And the third edition was held in 2021 with the theme Cinematic Rejuvenation. This is the 4th edition of CIFFI, and with every passing year, we are achieving new milestones. We are pleased to mention that Nottingham University, China, is our international partner for this CIFFI. Our festival partners are Cover Drive Productions, a Noida-based production house; Vigyan Prasad, the organizer of National Science Film Festival of India, NSFFI, and International Science Film Festival of India, ISFFI; CMS Vatavaran, Environment and Wildlife Festival and Forum; Kids Cinema, International Children's Film Festival; Cultural Cinema, a concept-based film festival aimed at celebrating world cultures; We Care Film Festivals for promoting and exhibiting films on disability; Delhi International Film Festival, DIFF, for screening films amidst heightened deliberations on world cinema. Our institutional partners are Global Media Education Council, GMAC, an international platform of media educators and researchers; Indian Academy of Shorts, IAS, and institutions for imparting craftsmanship of filmmaking through small capsules; New Delhi Film Production, a prominent film society. The partnering media houses include APN News, a fast-paced current affairs web channel; The Policy Times, international platform for unfolding policy and governance issues; Quick News web portal; Nispaksh News, Hindi Daily; News 44 YouTube channel; Gulistan News TV news channel. CIFFI 2022 is supported by Asian Media and Cultural Studies Network, Australia-India Film Practitioners and Researchers Network, and powered by SPARK, student body of DME Media School. Journalism @DME is the official newsletter of DME Media School. This fortnightly publication covers all the major activities happening in and out the campus. It is a student-centric newsletter carried out entirely by them under the supervision of faculty members. DME TV is the official YouTube channel of DME, where you can find the playlist related to all sessions, lecture series, Film Festival and Conference. It gives me immense pleasure to announce that for various sessions, we will go live on our official Facebook page of DME. For more information, follow us on our social media handles. I now request Professor Dr. Amdesh Saxena, Dean DME Media School and Festival Director, CIFFI, to please deliver the opening address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Khushi. So it's indeed a pleasure that CIFFI 2022 has entered its fourth day today, 3 more days to go. Obviously, for an educational institution, what we try to do is looking a bit ambitious, but with the help of our partners and colleagues and all like-minded people around us, we are able to somehow pull on this for the fourth year consecutively. And incidentally, for the last 3 years, the festival is happening on the same days from 15 to 21st of December. And during the COVID-19, we did not stop and we rather expanded the whole thing. And in terms of more number of days, in terms of more number of sessions, but this year what we tried to do to put more emphasis on screenings. Because this year we got a record number of entries, and after previewing and shortlisting, we tried to almost cut it out to 10% of the whole number that we got, but still that's a good number. 365 movies, that's in the competitive category, and there are films in the non-competitive category also. Particularly both are international partners. Deakin University has sent few films, and Nottingham University, China campus has also sent few films. So if we include the non-competitive films also, the number further increases. So we are having screenings in the DME campus in Noida, India, at 3 venues simultaneously, in our auditorium, in our studio, and in our EV lab. And then all these sessions, the panel discussions and master classes and workshops are happening. Obviously, we have reduced the number of these panel discussions and workshops so that we can get more space for screenings and discussions on cinema. Regarding other important facts about the festival, we have Tigmanshu Dhulia as our festival ambassador, who is a known filmmaker, director, acclaimed director, and actor. So lucky to have Vinay Pathak with us, who again is a celebrated actor in India, who is having a special session with us on day after tomorrow. So I welcome all my guests in this panel discussion, which has brought to us by Praveen Nagdaji, who is a close friend and who has always been very kind in supporting in various ways. So this is how this panel is happening. And again, I welcome the guests who have joined from Canada and Ireland. Despite that there's so much time difference between India and Canada, but then this love for cinema is one thing which is tying us together. So I welcome everybody in this session. Over to you, Khushi.
Thank you so much, sir. We are gathered here today for the third panel discussion of CIFFI 2022 on the topic Children's Movies, Their Role in Binding the World Together. We are honored to have Mr. Praveen Nagda for this session. Mr. Praveen Nagda is the Festival Director of Cultural Cinema and Kids Cinema Film Festivals. Cultural Cinema, it is a unique concept-based film festival celebrating the world cultures through cinema and kids cinema. It is India's first online international children's film festival. He is the founder and CEO of Peregrine Public Relations, a full-service corporate communication and public relations consultancy from delivering a pan-India reach. He is also the founder and CEO of Fight Coffee, an independent events and celebrity engagement company. Mr. Nagda is also a regular contributor as a weekly columnist with Reputation Today. His writings have been published as a book by Lambert Academy Publishing. He has been closely associated with many national and international events related to the cinema for children, art, and culture, such as 20th International Children's Film Festival, India 2017, Second National Children's Film Festival 2016, International Children's Film Festival 2016, New Delhi Art Book Fair and Raj Kapoor Awards for Excellence in Entertainment to name a few. He has achieved a well-rounded experience of working in diverse sectors with great companies such as Idea Cellular, Hinduja Group, The Par, Qualcomm, Wipro, Sun Pharma, Kerala Tourism, Creative Arts, Hari Kish Das Hospital, Alpari UK, Canonical UK, Deluxe Entertainment Services Group, Children's Film Society, India, Abbott Vascular, Indian Institute of Packaging, IIT Bombay, Johnson and Johnson, Leelabati Hospital, Relicel Batteries, Reliance Animation, Sirius Solar System, and Veracity Group, among others. Mr. Praveen Nagda is currently a regular visiting faculty with various institutes offering programs in mass communication, public relations, and management. He thoroughly enjoys teaching and interacting with the young and budding talent through such academic associations. Besides, he is an avid reader, trekker, nature lover, and an adventurous soul at large. Practicing and spreading yoga and meditation is his newfound love, and working towards the cause of cinema and children's cinema and now lifetime missions for him. I would now request my co-host, Gauri Dhyani, to take this session forward from here.
Thank you, Khushi. This is the third panel discussion of CIFFI 2022 on children's movie and their role in binding the world together. Now, I would like to welcome our first panelist, Sean Cisterna, an award-winning filmmaker from Canada. He is an accomplished multi-award-winning film director. Cisterna was recognized by the federal government with the Canada 150 Citizenship Award for thought leadership for dedication and community engagement in the arts. His works are frequently screened at recognized international festivals and are acquired by broadcasters, distributors, streamers, and worldwide. Cisterna financed his first theatrical feature, Moonpoint, on a couple of credit cards. The film was acquired by the Movie Network and broadcast nationally in 2012. His feature-length of documentary 30 Ghosts was developed out of the Hot Docs International Documentary Film Festival's Doc Ignite program and now resides with the National Film Board of Canada. Most recently, he decided the award-winning feature film From the Vine, an international co-production between Italy and Canada, centered around the world of wine and filmed in Acerenza, a 2,000-year-old town never before featured on film. We welcome you, sir. Our next panelist is Pamela Bisson, Quebec City-based children's filmmaker from Canada. Pamela Bisson is a new media art artist and movie director based in Quebec City, Quebec. As a new media art artist, she blogs and creates content for the web in the name of Pammy Poppins. As a trooper of the iconic nanny character, she cherishes the power of imagination and believes that everything is possible, even the impossible. She uses video to take a stand, raise her voice, to question herself on life's existence and picture beauty. Trying to reach the young audience, she starts to produce short films in every situation where she can. In 2015, she founded Lee Mansion Club, a non-profit organization which produces media quality content for and by youth without borders. We welcome you, ma'am. Now we have Marion Crilly as our next panelist. Marion Crilly is a producer and director of documentaries, factual programs, music shows for many years. Executive producer of multi-award winning Eurovision children's documentaries from 2002 to 2012, led many productions masterclasses to TV professionals in Europe, Africa, and Asia, media producer, director, and trainer, social entrepreneur in youth, media and diversity rights, musician, and vocalist. She served as a keynote speaker and contributor to youth media conferences in Dublin, Berlin, London, Munich, Cape Town, Doha, and Greece. We welcome you, ma'am. Now, I would like to introduce our next panelist, Deepa Kiran, founder of Story Art Foundation, international storyteller, TEDx speaker, educationalist, actor, writer, and filmmaker. Through her work, she enjoys connecting with children, educators, and parents. She has reached over 75,000 educators globally on teaching with stories. Deepa's special focus is development of English language, empathy, resilience, and critical thinking in multicultural, multilingual classrooms. She has received National Award for Educational Videos and Research and International Award for Acting in Cinema. She has recently launched her story-based education app, Deepa Storycation. We welcome you, ma'am. Let us now begin this session. This panel discussion is moderated by Mr. Praveen Nagda, who is the Festival Director of Culture Cinema and Kids Cinema Film Festival. I request you, sir, to please begin.
Thank you, Gauri and Kushi. You made my job easy. Thank you, Amrish sir, for giving me opportunity here to bring in this panel discussion. And again, thanks to all my dear panelists. I am grateful to you because you are in different time zones and you have got time for this. I know that Pamela has a shoot schedule today, but she has taken time for us before she gets into her shoot. And Sean, it's too early, I know. Marion, of course. Deepa ji, welcome all of you. Well, all of us here gathered, people are passionate about films, passionate about children, and passionate about children's cinema. So, and we are gathering from all over the world. And what can be a better thing to talk about than we discuss the role of children's films in how they can bring the whole world together. Their children are future generation. They have raw minds, they're flexible, you can mold them. They observe, pick up, learn very fast. So audiovisual medium impact on any kind of communication, if you look at how children's content, how children's films can shape up their minds so that we create a better world. That's the idea that we are talking. Let me get to the first point, first question. Today, if you look at it, these are times of conflicts. We see differences, we see issues of racism, we see social and economic disparity, everything is rising. On one hand, we are progressing technologically, the world is becoming smaller, and on the other hand, we see these things coming up, right? How can children's cinema, how can it be a catalyst in creating harmony in the world? First question, let's start with Sean.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Praveen, for your warm introduction and to lead off this panel discussion. Yeah, I mean, I think films, regardless of whether they're made for children or not, can always be a means for change. I mean, films are a unique way of showcasing these complex global issues that you brought up in your question, and you know, kind of wrapping them up and disguising them in a rousing story for entertainment purposes. I mean, I think of films as like these modern day parables almost. So, you know, if you think about a documentary, they're often made as a tool for social justice. You know, they first outline the problem and then a hopeful resolution, but it puts the onus on the viewer to act as that catalyst for change. And it can be, I think, similar in a children's film, or it could just be like rather than a problem, maybe an emotion that the child needs to work through. If you think about that recent, I think it's a Disney film, Turning Red, about this 13-year-old girl who these family circumstances turns into a giant red panda whenever she feels these extreme emotions. That's something often a young person or a teenager is going through. Little kids may love the panda antics, while older ones would relate more to the themes of growing up and looking at your family through a more mature eyes. So yeah, I definitely do think that films can have a way of speaking to young audiences and offer up that peaceful coexistence you talk about.
Thank you. So even the most common film, The Lion King, if you look at that, even there's a story. A young lion prince, he learns about how unity and cooperation can bring change over there. So Pamela, what's your view on this? How can the children become a catalyst?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Good morning, Sean. So I think also by including children in the filmmaking process is also a way to get them more critical about the stories they are being told, because we are being bombarded by content. There's so many platforms, so many films, and I think it's our duty to be on the side of children to give them the opportunity of having this group experience of making a film and growing up through it, and learning if it's about the theme of the film through the theme of the film that you're making, or if it's just the challenges of making it and having to deal with so many aspects, like just finding the location with the children, and learning about the fact that you need to ask for the permission to be filming there, and all that stuff, making children more aware of the world we live in, because they are constantly watching stories. They don't have to be long stories. They are watching 15-second stories on social media. So you want them to be more aware and critical about what they see. So I think by empowering them in making film as a team project is also giving them a sense of belonging and tools to not only to be part of the audience, but to be part of the society life they live in, and not to be waiting until you're 18-year-old to be voting or feeling part of your society, but just using the tools we have to make cinema with them so that they feel included in the world they live in. So that's what I would have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Pamela. That's interesting. We are talking of involving children in the filmmaking itself, and it's very root of the cause that you are addressing from there. Not just watching the films, but yes, even the children can make the films which can work towards addressing their cause, and we can facilitate as filmmakers, as directors, writers, actors. All of you can really facilitate that beautifully. Deepaji, over to you.
Namaste. Yes, Praveen ji, with you and with Sean and Pamela, entirely in agreement that the power of stories is so beautiful. And today there is, of course, we like it or not, this technology and this medium of audio visual, which is very popular among the youth today. And it's a great idea to leverage it in as many ways as possible. The vicarious experience it offers. I'm just remembering as a child, I lived in the city, I grew up in the cities, and I remember Abhayam, a Malayalam film, about this little boy whose grandfather is in the village, and his grandfather makes him a little clock because he doesn't know the time. He makes it with a coconut leaf, he just pulls out a thread of a coconut leaf and makes it. And I vicariously lived the experience of what it could be to have a childhood, in the village, and to even get a sense of what life would be there like. So yes, cinema can offer us beautiful vicarious experiences through the story of that protagonist, through that protagonist's journey, certainly. And also when, Pamela was speaking, it just reminded me, my sons, when they were teenagers, they were part of a US consulate project. They had to make a film. Yes, they had to take permissions from school. And the theme was gender, looking at the gender spectrum. So they actually made a film about a girl who wants to play basketball. And the process of making it, the learnings for them, and the delight of being able to put that out and sort of make a little expression of their own self, this time through an audiovisual medium, was very empowering and a beautiful learning journey for them. So I'd agree with both that, yes, there is so much scope. And I'll maybe just end with the words of Biban Kidron, who's been doing so much work with film clubs across the UK. And in her TEDx talk, Wonder of Film, very beautifully, she says that we get a shared narrative structure, a shared narrative culture through the medium of cinema. Yes.
It's nice, share the narrative culture, and that addresses the whole cultural aspect of the world, because children, the example that you've given using the coconut tree parts to make a clock, and I mean, what a beautiful way to express something. And somebody sitting in America or Japan, seeing it differently, how a particular part, a message is being conveyed through a film. Very interesting. Marian, coming over to you, can we know something more from you about what's happening in your part of the world?
Yes, I think you have me now.
Yes.
Okay, well, namaste. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's just at 1 o'clock today. And Praveen, you are a saint. You put up with me writing to you or emailing, say, is it starting at 2 o'clock? And you're saying, no, it's 5.5 hours plus a half, and you divide and you multiply, and it's the math really killed me. But anyway, fortunately, I am here at the beginning, not at the ending of the meeting. I think I've worked for 30 years in television, and I met, on and off all the time, I worked in children's media, and I always felt that much of what happened in children's media was quite avant-garde, in the sense that it promoted and pushed ideas, even technical ideas, which subsequently were taken on board by the adult television. So, for instance, you were all used now to watching news where there is the news speaker telling you the headlines, but also underneath there's other information running along the bottom of the screen. That started in children's television in the early 90s. It was unheard of in adult television until nearly a decade later. And they began to do it in sport and then in news. Because I think some of the children who watched us had grown up and begun to work in the industry, and so realized you can do two things at the same time and ask your audience to do that as well. So that was one technical example. But the actual passion for education was there. Now, I haven't worked in film, so I am the odd one out here, insofar as television has been my means. But just watching this morning with my 3-year-old grandchildren, it was fascinating to see that they were watching a program on Irish language television, which caters for 100,000 people. And it was really about global warming and getting children to engage in family, a sort of recycling of goods, and to raise money to grow trees, to increase decrease carbon emissions and so on. And that basically there was a kind of a do-gooder panel, and the 3-year-olds watched it, though they obviously don't speak any Irish. And they watch various programs, but of course they also watch Disney's Frozen 2, which is so superbly made and so wonderful. And it's about being good and but being imaginative, being creative, and being brave. And the message is always about there are warring attackers of different nations and bringing them together. So you can already see Disney has been there a long time with those kind of messages. But I think in the end of all, that yes, number one, we can in children's film and television, and we already try to do it, I think, put before them really good values, values of in the largest capacity of human peace, and then values of just, tidying away your toys at the end of your play session, or, putting away your shoes and socks, or not eating with your mouth open, or whatever. Those kind of little good manners things that also are taught in programs. And I do see my grandchildren are twin boy and girl. They watch some the Moonbag programs, which are super polite and earnest, I would say. So much so that the average teenager would, really be horrified by them. But they love to watch people being polite to one another. So when they're finished watching and they're playing with their toys, they say, would you like to play with this now, Cecilia? And Cecilia says, yes, Ralph, thank you. You have my toys. So they actually elaborately reenact good manners, having watched this program. So don't, it may not last for very long, but in fairness, it does have an impact. So there's no doubt that these things can have an impact, but it has to be beautifully made and the story has to be compelling. And I do think that the point made about sharing a narrative is incredibly important. Not all cultures have the access to the information or the knowledge or the capacity to make a narrative structure that fits 15 seconds or 90 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever the amount is. And so my work, particularly with the European Broadcasting Union, working with many different countries, because, we had Japan, who have an excellent television, national television, with highly developed media communication skills. And also, Germany and most of the Western European countries. And then you had other countries that come from an Eastern European tradition who were where the ordinary person didn't appear on screen. So they lacked the skill set for bringing the ordinary person onto the camera and relaxing them and getting them to tell their actual human story, their real stories, because that had not happened. Similarly, in the Middle East, with Jordan and Egypt, Turkey and South Africa. So it was a very diverse group. But really one of my passions was to communicate a skill set, both in terms of narrative structure and the hows of how you get people to communicate in a natural and honest, open way with the camera. And as we've heard, there is a huge youth movement, Kids for Kids television events around the world. And I know many young friends of my son who started out at 15-year-olds making films and entering them for these Kids for Kids festivals and are now professional in the industry. So there are so many ways where there's positive impact. But I would say also that there are other voices, and very, very loud voices in the media generally, who have very negative things to say, and they have open access online, obviously, but also they had access in the old media, editorial media. You can and it's, I suppose most of us learn gradually that words, really do matter. So when you see something like what happened in the United Kingdom with Brexit, which it was a very big decision that was made, it was prepared for by 30 years of some small category in the British media industry that constantly berated the European Union for its regulatory environment and for its trying to get bent bananas made straight bananas. Utter nonsense. It all seemed very nonsensical until people, you realize, had actually begun to really believe it. So that big changes can occur through the stories that are told. I don't think we in our groups are telling those stories, but I don't know if we can counteract those stories or even know, is it our business to do so? Because people are entitled to their decisions, obviously, the British are, in relation to Brexit. But at the same time, the question is, how far can we unite a society as just one voice? I suppose that would be the 2 points. First of all, the story must be well told and really skillfully made. And also that we have to recognize the limitations too, because we are one voice among many. So. Yes, sorry, Poppy. Yeah.
Thank you, Marian. Lot of insights, couple of key things. So global warming and good manners, these are universal things. Every country, it matters. So kids apply their mind there, if they learn good values, you need to learn, of course, everywhere, all of them. So very good points you made. And of course, how compelling storytelling is there, which can make a difference in terms of, and a lot of things, what you have done on your part of country, your part of what's happening. Now let's move to Sean. Sean, please tell us, give us something about historical context in terms of how children's cinema has evolved in your part of side of the world, and talk to us a little bit more on that front. And what kind of future potential you see as how it can be a binding force for the world.
Sure. Well, I think about the differences from when I absorbed children's content myself as a young person to today. Certainly, the technology has changed. I mean, kids today are lucky when they latch on to a movie. It's generally available to them around the clock, thanks to the proliferation of these streaming services. When I was younger, there were VHS tapes that we'd kind of wear out, and they'd have a finite life, but with these streamers, the content is just available 24 hours a day to their audiences. And some of the films available on these services are, the classics that have stood the test of time and have remained favorites for decades, while some are new favorites following these current trends. So, but I think kids go to school all day and they come home with homework, and they don't necessarily want to be lectured to when they go to a film. So films need to be made for entertainment purposes, for escapism, but also with a hidden message, right? So, if you think of a classic film like E.T., for example, Steven Spielberg's film, yes, it's a story about this alien who comes to Earth and befriends a young boy, but it's also the story of good people with heart who protect the natural world from these corrupt and greedy organizations. So a film's message could be hidden within an adventure story. If you think about, I'm trying to think of other films that I loved as a kid, like Willy Wonka, for example, and the Chocolate Factory. That film about the eccentric candy maker. It shows the maybe the dark underside to children getting everything that they want, and it's a dark message that only like this kind of a film can get that medicine to kind of go down a little bit easier. So I think it's, I mean, the proliferation of streamers has definitely affected the way children absorb the content, but also the messages that they're getting.
Thank you, Sean, for insights from you on these issues. Yes, streaming has become very important now, and we have a lot of OTT platforms today which stream a lot of content. Like in India, abroad also, there are plenty of them. Of course, in India, we have many more OTT platforms than you would have in the US or yeah. Coming back to Pamela. Pamela, you have worked with children. You work very closely with children, get them to make the films. Yeah. And as we see children's films, they address most important themes like diversity or, cooperation or understanding, etc. Now, when you work with children, how do they absorb or accept those kind of thoughts or ideas when you make them to work on the films, no? When they make their own films, how easy it is for them to accept it or execute it, how quickly they learn these kind of things, which are little subjects, which are little adults or senior subjects in terms of intellectual subjects, you know, how easily or how difficulty you face while explaining this in getting them to make a film?
I guess it always depends on the group, but they are quite open and they have their own they have their own opinions on many subjects. They, I think, are much more informed than I was when I was their age. And I feel like I'm not speaking to a lesser version than another human when I'm with children. I'm like, I understand they may be some concept that they are not aware of and they haven't been experiencing as many things as I have because I'm older, but I really don't put myself on a higher level as them. And some adults or grown-ups would say I have a child at heart. I'm a child at heart, and that makes it easier for me to connect with them. But I think anybody can connect with children and learn so much from them and get inspired. And actually, it's there when I script things that I want to work with professional, but I want to target them, and I still go to meet them and consult them and make sure that they bring some ideas that will orient whatever directions we're going towards to. And that's, I think, is really important. And when you want to do things for children and you're not necessarily doing with them, but you still have to consider them. You can always remember how you were when you were a child, but it's things can some things can be different than when you were a child. So it's always good to bond with them and make sure that you get some of their vibration, so that you won't be in your grown-up bubble thinking you're doing something for children, but you're actually in you're closed-minded and you haven't questioned them on the topic you're trying to address. So that would be what I have to say.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pamela. Being child at heart is the most critical thing, most important for any filmmaker if he is making a film for children. And children nowadays, they are very energetic. They have exuberance. There are a lot of ideas that they bring through, you know. And a lot of times we think, oh my God, we haven't thought about it, but they have thought about it. So when you engage them in creative pursuits, I'm sure, you know, they contribute a lot along with your expertise, and you can really make a good content for children. Deepaji, coming over to you. Let's talk about some cultural issues, cross-cultural backgrounds. How children can learn from each other's cross-cultural backgrounds. What a kid in Japan can learn from India, and what a kid in India can learn from Africa.
Well, if I can say a little bit about that, just from the experiences I had with the EBU documentary.
Yes,
I think, is my sound on? Yes, it is. That I found that the actual watching of, 20 documentaries, one after the other, all centered around a 10 to 12-year-old as the kind of protagonist and facing a challenge in life and trying to overcome that challenge. That they were remarkably similar, actually, in the sense that the experiences, the feelings, the concerns, the sets of relationships were similar right throughout. But of course, there were big cultural differences. I remember some African children saying that they thought that the Europeans, especially they didn't realize it, but the Northern European the children never smiled. See, they don't smile. You know, Europeans don't smile, which is actually, in comparison with Africans, true. And that's terrible, you know, broad generalization. But when I watched back, I realized absolutely, because the children in North Europe that watched the African film said, you know, they're all very happy, you know. We can see that they, you know, that they don't have big houses, but they're happy and they play and they have fun. And, you know, then you realize the image of African children that you see portrayed in our media is all aimed at raising money. So it's always the African child as the victim or the Indian child as the victim. But in fact, of course, this is absolutely not the image that is appropriate, because there are many children who are not a victim and who are happy and thriving. And even if they're very poor, they can also be happy and thriving, which may seem strange to the more materialistic countries of the North. But it's true. So there are some cultural differences that that you can see quite obviously, but also a lot of experiences that are very, very similar. There's a universal quality to being human that I think comes across in programs. But you can also see, you know, different approaches to things, but they're usually much more much smaller issues than the kind of issue of universal peace. It's the smaller things that we differ on, it seems, you know. So
Thanks, Marion. Thanks, Marion. We go to Deepaji.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's interesting you should ask this. For us, the entry point comes because we show cinema with the primary intent of English language learning, right? We start from that space, and it's so interesting to watch how the language learning just becomes an aside. It becomes a natural process, but it's the engagement with these differences which surprises them, and which with the similarities, which is equally surprising. You know, that's the beauty, that they experience the joy of being surprised, they experience the joy of the unfamiliar, and then they experience the joy of the connection through the familiar. And I would say, sitting in India, both the context, talking about children here, and when we see cinema from the rest of the world, right? For example, we were showing the film Moana, and there they're seeing this girl who's across the oceans and she's speaking English. So these are children from a village for whom anyone who speaks English is someone alien in a certain sense. And then the kind of emotions and challenges that she's going through are so familiar to them. So there's a beauty of transcending that zone of, you know, the unfamiliar, and then returning with a connect to their own familiar, which definitely happens through cinema. And then personally, again, I would say, you know, let's say a film like an old one, and not particularly a children's film, but a film that children have watched and enjoyed, like Gods Must Be Crazy, a very, very old film, a popular one. Nevertheless, to bring that up, the kind of wisdom of the people of a community in Africa was so beautifully brought in through fiction, right, in that cinema. And it just, like Marianne mentioned, it just zaps your perspective. It just sets you back thinking that, oh, is this where I'm coming from? Like, it makes you re-question. And to see very young minds do that, it's all the more exciting, because that's the time when their mind is growing and it's getting formed. So yes, I find it very exciting when the effort is made by organizations also to create a community where children get to watch a cinema from the other land. Today, of course, we have books, we have manga, right, which is very, very popular with children today, and they have easy access. Like Sean mentioned in the beginning, the kind of access they have today is unimaginable. Our only entry point used to be television or the cinema halls. And so it was always the parent controlled access back then. So today, given the kind of access they have, they can watch cinema in any language, and they can decide if they relate to it, if they do not. And they can choose to, I think children are more articulate today and there is more space for articulation. For example, when we show Sound of Music, the idea is not just to show Sound of Music, it's to have discussions after that. So they want to know, where is this place? Who has made this film? And they want to learn the lyrics. They want to understand what it means. They want to comment on what they think about a stepmother. Like, I have a stepmother who actually loves me. It throws up so many discussions, so it's very interesting how cinema can give that scope. And I'm glad we're living in times where, like Pamela said, we are no longer talking down to children. So we are times where it's okay, let's have a conversation. Okay, let's exchange ideas. So when in that spirit, we look at different kinds of cinema, yeah, it can work beautifully for diversity, inclusion, and for giving us empathy to live another's life just through cinema, which we otherwise would never be living. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So to live other person's life through cinema is a beautiful point made. And especially when children can see and they relate themselves from the other parts of the world, how the life is, moving in that part of the world. It obviously brings a certain kind of connectivity, certain kind of empathy, certain kind of relationship with them. And children all over the world are alike. They don't need language to communicate something. They see the films, they make out what's happening on the audiovisual. You can see their expressions, whether it's a German or Spanish or English or Japanese, it doesn't matter. They can just watch the film without any language that they understand, but they'll still connect with the content. And that's the beauty, the children's filmmaker can really bring in for the kids. Now, ahead from this, I'm sure filmmakers do a lot of research. They work with various, partners, various people through whom they seek deep insight or knowledge about, how to go about creating that project. But still, to be more specific, in the lives of children, teachers are the ones who are the most important people beyond the parents. Then there are other professionals. How can we get them to contribute or add more value to the children's content? On that, we can probably have some deliberations. So how can we get teachers, psychologists, celebrities, or any such other sections of the society who can contribute significantly for the filmmaker? Sean.
Yeah, I mean, I think we see examples of this all the time. Like, it's often done with these big global properties. You think the McDonald's Happy Meal that comes with a toy for one of the big blockbuster films. So these partnerships are not new, but if you want to take that and adapt it to like the independent film sphere, I mean, by working together early on a project, I mean, these are the types of partnerships that I love to get engaged in and thrive on. So even during the development of a project, you can tie in your message and develop these themes in harmony with these influencers or celebrities, so that it's very little effort for them to participate in your project, but it makes a lot of a difference to you. So, on a bigger scale, I have friends who made the film The Breadwinner, which is the story of this young. It's the story where Afghanistan is under control of the Taliban, and when her father is captured, this determined young girl disguises herself as a boy in order to provide for her family. Well, the filmmaker friends of mine, they partnered with Angelina Jolie, the national or international celebrity, who's proven herself as an advocate for change in underdeveloped countries and uses her platform to elevate the voice of others. So, by simply making her an executive producer, it elevated the project to a larger audience. And even on a smaller scale, if you want to develop a film or a television project in consultation with professors or teachers, educators who can identify themes that might fit in your project through the national curriculum in a school, To get them to sign on to your project means that it's being developed for educational purposes, and that those projects can not only live on television, but can be used as a tool for schools across the country as well. It's also a way for filmmakers to get a different revenue stream through the educational system as well. Certainly, you can sell your film to television, but there's also at least in Canada, a national organization that oversees educational content. And if you can get it into the school system, it's an extra series of revenue for your project. So no matter if you partner with educators or celebrities, everything is a bonus to help get that content out to a wider audience. So anything to do with these partnerships is beneficial to someone like me on the production side.
Excellent point made. So educational schools can use it as an educational tool. Beautiful. Well said. Pamela, social influencers, how can they bring value to the children's films?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Social influencers.
Oh, social influencers. Well, it always depends what's your definition of a social influencer, because we see a lot of influencers everywhere. Most of what we get here is influencer that actually have made this a job for them, so they have to sell products. So I don't see any social influencing there. To me, it's just advertisement through a person. But I think some actors and some people that are known can push some ideas and some social issues forward with their platform. But I think we also have to raise awareness amongst children about this economy, because it's really a temporary economy. I don't really believe all influencer can live on being an influencer their whole life. So I think it's something we have to address with children also. I might have to go right now. I was really honored to be part of this panel today, but I'm actually on a shoot in about a few minutes, and there will be a little girl waiting for me at a bus station in a few minutes.
Okay,
I need to get
off you go.
Yes.
So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Pamela, for being here with us. Actually, we are really grateful that you could spare your time out of the very busy schedule. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Anytime.
It's almost we are about to end. We are running a little late, so we'll finish the discussion also in some time. So we're fine. Happy to see you, have you with us, and we'll next sessions we'll probably request you to come back in the next year.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Marian.
Yes.
We go to Marian.
Yes, sir.
What is how about the support of developed countries towards very underdeveloped or developing countries in this context? Would you like to throw some light on that?
Well, certainly the European Broadcasting Union has a very broad membership. I mean, there's a lot of Asian companies that are national broadcasters that are members, and the Asian Broadcasting Union is very powerful and has its own membership. And what they would try to do always is try to provide professional level training for their members. And so some of what I found myself trying to do as a producer, I came up with a concept for the documentary series, and then only realized when I got to meet people that very many of them absolutely did not speak that language, right? So there was a whole training process that I found myself turning into a trainer in order to just get my series made. But that meant that there was now a new generation of producers actually with skill sets that they didn't have before. And that was a very good thing in itself, right? But also, there's also this question of cultural imperialism. I remember being at which I think we should address, being at a meeting in Egypt with a full room of producers, and I had been talking about the philosophy behind the documentary series, which was very child-centered, which I think you all share, that the documentaries shouldn't be about children, they were for children, and they were as close to the personal experience of a child as you can get as an adult, okay? And one of the members of the team, they were very silent when I finished speaking, and that's always a bad sign, because you think, oh my God, I've said something really wrong. And then one said to me, you do realize that in this country, you're talking about making child-centered television, and we don't have child-centered education, and we don't have an adult-centered society. We are a top-down society. We, take instruction. So I thought, oh dear, this is very deep water for me to find myself in. But at the same time, they did produce a child-centered documentary at the end of the year. And it was quite apparent that many people in that room thought that that was the way they should be making programs. But so that insofar as, that is a question, can they go on to influence their colleagues and their bosses to try to make their programs more more centered on the child's perspective. But you're talking about a whole fundamental change then in the parents and teachers' approach to children. And so there is, that's why I said cultural imperialism. It can be very pretentious for us to think that because we share certain views of children and how you educate them, that everybody in the world should share that and they should all think alike. So you have to be careful that you're not imposing. And similarly, also, even with the film making that we had there in kids cinema, different cultures approach storytelling differently, and you don't, it's important not to say there's just one way to do it. And so obviously when I'm training, I can only teach the way I know, but there are others out there hopefully who can convey what is excellence in a different type of storytelling tradition, right? Because we are all pretty much in Western cinema dominated by, I would say, the Disney storytelling model, and but also I know at one stage I was suddenly attacked by fellow Europeans, by Eastern Europeans, that you have an American approach to filmmaking, because I liked for small children for there to be a positive ending or a resolution. If they had tried to get a part in the ballet and they failed, that they seem to learn something from this, right? That you didn't end it sad with them looking demoralized. Because I felt, 10-year-old children, there is a big enough world out there for them to have sad moments. It isn't our job to, it's our job to help them find a resolution to life's problems, not to just end up sad. And then I thought about it, and I thought, you know what, it's not an American tradition. It's a Greek drama. It's Aeschylus who posited the views about story resolution and jeopardy and a catharsis and all of these things as the central and immediate experience of a great film watching experience, So can developed countries teach other? Yes, we can, providing they want to learn that message and providing we acknowledge the fact that we aren't right just because, we may have sold millions. Well, I haven't, but Disney certainly has made millions and sold, and I had very, very happy customers right across the globe. Okay. But it doesn't mean it's the only way to see things or do things. So that would be my answer to that.
Thank you, Mariam. Very well made point. Today, children's cinema, yes, Disney style is quite prominent, and most Western filmmakers, so the large filmmakers, they focus on that kind of content, yes. But all of them who are really big filmmakers, known filmmakers, if they look at other countries, their cultures, their local issues, and work towards engaging with them, and then the power of cinema can be immense, and it can really bring a lot of value to mind people from all over the world, because when a Disney or a large filmmaker will come to a small country and look at local issues and highlight those in their storytelling, the rest of the world will get connected in much better manner, because they will have the power of distribution, pushing, advertising, sharing those kind of films. So I think that's a very strong point that you have made. I think already running ahead of our scheduled time, so maybe we will try to wrap up this discussion. I think we had a few good takeaways. Yes, the cultural issues are important. Global warming and good manners are universal things which can really help connect world over children. Also, the children don't need a language to see; they can understand the medium itself is very strong to communicate the story. And if we have a cross-cultural storytelling, it certainly adds a lot of value in bringing the people together. And if the children are together, I'm sure as they grow up, there are chances of having lesser conflicts, having lesser issues, having much more stronger value system than our previous generations that we have had. And in today's time, when the internet is so much prevalent, streaming is so much available, connectivity is so much there. You have high quality content available almost in the press of a button at anywhere in the world. Why not use the children's cinema to ensure that we live in a more harmonious manner, and peaceful coexistence of all of us, where we value each other's cultures, each other's existence, each other's realities, and try to work towards a cause which is a world which is all of them are together and not at war, not at any conflict. With this, I would like to conclude. Thank you once again to all the panelists, Marian, Sean, Deepa, and Pamela, who just moved away. Amrish, sir, over to you. You have to unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you, Praveenji. It was indeed an enlightening thing listening to all the panelists here. Because I mean, all the panelists they are qualified to speak on such issues because they are actually working on the ground with children and are making films for children. So people like me can only learn by listening to them and by looking as to what kind of work they have been doing. That's really remarkable on their part, and I'm obliged that with your intervention, I mean, all such people are here to further add value to Cineasta International Film Festival, which has entered into 4th year. And I know Sean has been associated with the panels earlier as well. So I'm really grateful to him. With this, I believe we should conclude this session. My colleague, Assistant Professor Dr. Sumedha Dasmana is here, so she will take it forward to extend the formal vote of thanks. Sumedha.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Praveen Nagda, for such an insightful panel discussion on children's movies, their role in binding the world together. I myself have been watching children movies lately. Up, Tangled, Moana, Toy Story, The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and Turning Red are some of my personal favorites. Thanks a lot, Praveen, sir. I also take this opportunity to thank our panelists, Mr. Sean Cisterna, Ms. Pamela Besson, Ms. Marion Creeley, and Ms. Deepa Kiran for sharing their valuable inputs. It's truly my privilege to extend this word of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked really hard. I would like to extend my immense gratitude to the management of TME. Without the support of Mr. Amit Sahani, Vice Chairman, Justice Bhavar Singh, Director General, and Dr. Ravikant Swamy, Director, we would not have been able to come this far. I thank them for giving us this wonderful opportunity and the resources to execute the same. I am thankful to Dr. Amrish Saxena, Dean DME Media School, Festival Director CIFFI, Dr. Vikrant Kishore, Festival Director, and Dr. Shrusmita Bala, Head DME Media School, and Festival Chief Associate Director for the constant guidance and encouragement at every step. I thank our partners for collaborating with us in our efforts. My gratitude also goes to the student body of DME Media School, SPARK, that is students with positive attitude and resonating communication. I heartily thank our jury members, Mr. Nimish Kapoor, Dr. Gauri Chakrabarti, Mr. Pankaj Rakesh, Mr. Praveen Nagda, Ms. Sakshi Bindal, Mr. Ramkishore Parcha, Mr. Satish Kapoor, and Mr. Lohit Lodwal for patiently and fairly watching all the movies and for giving this their precious time and feedback. A special note of thanks to Dr. Manmeet Kaur, Dr. Manasvi Maheshwari, Mr. Mishal Sahai, Mr. Madhav Sharma, Mr. Yogesh Sharma, Ms. Saima Parvez, Mr. Pramod Kumar Pandey, Mr. Ashish Chatterjee, Ms. Sukriti Arora, Ms. Garima Jain, Dr. Yamini Kullar, Ms. Ritika Bora, Dr. Iram Rizvi, Ms. Deepa Jutsi, and Ms. Shefali Chibber, Ms. Divya Rastogi, Mr. Mayank Shukla, Mr. Abhijit Saxena, and Ms. Priya Yadav. I would also like to thank the student team of CIFFI who have worked tirelessly to make this festival happen. I must thank all our participants who submitted their engaging films. Thank you to our audience for joining this panel discussion. Thanks so much.